Now let's talk about the events in central London yesterday and ask the question, do we have two-tier policing in the country? Well, GB News viewers can see footage on your screen now that was posted on social media by the Metropolitan Police yesterday afternoon. And the Met said at the time that officers were already dealing with disorder an hour before the St George's Day event was due to start. And they added that when they tried to get the group of people to turn around, they reacted by violently forcing their way through. Well, I'm joined in the studio by the barrister and writer Steven Barrett. Steven, welcome to the studio. It's a delight to have your company. We've been having this conversation now for many, many weeks, mainly since October the 7th. I've been on these protests. I've been on protests of both sides. I've seen up close and personal. And there is absolutely a feeling that the police get tooled up and are ready to go on one type of protest, and on the other they stand back and observe. Is that justified?
Well, I think we have to say yes now. And Baroness Fox said it earlier. She used the phrase differential treatment. I quite like that. If two-tier policing offends you, then use differential treatment. But there is something going on, because when we get violent and aggressive protests in a certain way, then the Metropolitan Police Commissioner will go on the television and be what I call performatively powerless. He will deny that he has any legal powers. He will look in his legal cupboard and he will find it bare, and he will pull a sad face and tell us, oh, well, I would do something if I could, but all of a sudden I can't. And yet when this protest happens, all the legal powers in the world were suddenly given to him. And I want your viewers to know, Martin, it's been ever since the Blair government, well, actually, Margaret Thatcher started giving them extra powers. They've been handed powers like sweeties by every successive prime minister we've ever had. They have a massive bag. I mean, this is like the world's biggest Halloween basket. They have just endless sweeties to use, and to turn around and pretend they don't have them is I mean, it's absurd. I mean, that's why I called them out and I wrote my article saying, giving the example of some of the powers that they have. I think we're reaching the point where we have to say that it's pushing at the boundaries of plausibility that they don't know about these powers, given that they suddenly find them when they find a group they don't like, and then they suddenly lose them when they find a group they do like. And how notable, I mean, just how notable that this all tracks along modern identity politics, and that certain groups who are clearly considered at the bottom of the pyramid in identity politics, i.e. white working class men, are more than, piled in on, but certain groups who are elevated in that that rather odd political structure get the benefit of it. And I think that isn't free, that isn't fair, that is not the rule of law.
Now, we've contacted the Metropolitan Police for comment throughout the day. They haven't got back to us yet, but of course they would deny these allegations strongly. They would say, and I've talked to them myself, I've implored them, Stephen, to arrest men at the pro-Palestine marches who were projecting those images onto Big Ben. They didn't want to do anything about that. I implored them to arrest men with full-face balaclavas on at those marches, and they definitely didn't want to get involved, and there were no signs of horses or riot shields. But then they would say that the people on St George's Day were looking for trouble. They would say that, wouldn't they? But I spoke with a bunch of them yesterday who said that wasn't the case. What are they meant to do? Are they in a bind?
No, they are meant to police us all in exactly the same way. They are supposed to be free and fair and impartial in the application of their powers, and they've lost impartiality because they focus instead on things called like community coherence and pleasing certain people. One of the great things I get to do in public life is I get to remain impartial because I don't mind who I upset. Now, that is a sort of license to upset everybody, so I'm not terribly lucky in that regard. But the minute you want to please people, the minute you want some people to like you, then you're not going to apply rules in a consistent way. And that's where the Metropolitan Police has gone. I always say that, it's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So, they see groups and they want to please them, and they want them to not feel punished. They want them not to feel victimised. They want them to feel that we are the good guys. And as a result, unfortunately, they're just not applying the law. And when you do that, things don't work.
And as opposed to the problem, they've they've had endless reports of their own where they've referred to themselves as institutionally, systemically racist. Are they wearing such a hair shirt of that burden that they're almost going out of their way now to prove they're the opposite thing?
Well, this is what happens, you see. They get people, we're all only human. So humans feel shame, and then they feel guilty, and then they want to make up for it. And in order to make up for it, they'll do almost anything. And clearly, the Metropolitan Police in particular have been very heavily shamed, quite rightly, but nonetheless, they have been quite heavily shamed in the past. And then they try and make up for it, and what we end up with is unequal policing. And I do question how much longer the British people will tolerate unequal policing, because it is so contra to everything that we believe. I mean, I had cause to read the PILED Principles, and Robert Peel believed in equal policing, and the only reason we have a police force is to have equal policing. And I belong to one of these identity groups myself. I'm openly bisexual, so I don't want special treatment either. We all want equal treatment. That is what will work.
Yeah. Now the police, they maintain and they will repeat that there was a set route for the march given. They claim that the group went outside of the agreed limits when they blocked the limit. The St George's rallied, forced their way through. The police will say they were operating within the framework they gave out. That will be what they say. And they say the same thing on the pro-Palestine protest. There's an agreed route, and if you break it, they are entitled to enforce that. That's what they would say.
But they don't. You see, I don't, unfortunately for the Metropolitan Police, I don't have the memory of a goldfish. And we have seen the pro-Palestine marches go off the route. We saw an impromptu, what was it, Al-Quds demonstration. We've seen the most outrageous of behaviour completely ignored. We saw an order put in place that face coverings could not be worn, and then face coverings worn, and nothing done by officers on it. So I'm afraid, and I do think this is the poison of our age, that we live with this argument where it is two-stage, Martin. The first thing the authorities say is it's not happening. And then without missing a beat, once you catch them out, they turn around and go, oh, well, anyway, it's a good thing. And actually, what we need to go back to is when they do that, we need to turn around and go old-fashioned and say, well, hang on a second, your first statement was a lie. And actually, that's not right. And I want to live in a truthful society based on the rule of law. I don't like this sort of shallow, it's very narcissistic, it's very vain. The Metropolitan Police care much more about how they're coming across than they do seem to care about solving crime. And that's not helpful for what we're all trying to achieve.
OK, Steven Barrett, thank you very much for joining us and giving us your expert insight as ever. Thank you very much.